In this video, I'm going to show you how you could use a mind map for your writing projects. So I tend to write a lot of blog posts and small articles. And this is the format you could use for writing articles, but you could also scale it for writing larger like books or reports, things like that. And like always, I included the mind map that you can download it with this. It's on this page. You can download it and load it up into your Xmind and use this as a template. I'm just going to go ahead and visit this page. This is an article that I helped create. It's one of the more recent articles. It's called How to Increase Your Reading Speed. And it's available on the Iris site. The link is right there. If you click on it within the mind map, it'll go to the link. And there's a structure to this, like just about any other article on the internet. There's an introduction. This one has 3 tips, and then there's a conclusion. So if you're interested in increasing your reading speed, visitors that land on this page get 3 tips that can help them boost their reading speed, improve their comprehension and retention so they can get through more material. And what we try to do is convey this message in a very clear and concise way. So I used a mind map to help me create this by creating an introduction child topic, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and conclusion. Now, like I mentioned in the other videos, I like to structure my mind map using the logic chart right. And for a number of reasons, because it allows me to put ideas in here. So I'm just going to expand all of these. It allows me to put ideas in here in sequence and then build upon them in sequence. And then I can move stuff around. I can just drag things. If I want to talk about something in a specific paragraph, I'll move it around. And what this will do is it'll allow me to create my skeleton so that when I go write my article, I'll be able to write it more efficiently because all my thoughts are put into an outline and then I just follow that outline. So an article like this where, I don't know, it's probably, I would say about 400 or 500 words, probably takes me about an hour to put together. Everything from figuring out what I want to talk about, organizing it, and writing it, and then editing stuff that I don't think is relevant, and proofreading and stuff like that, and posting. So I've written a number of different articles for different sites, and like I said, I helped put this one together. So this is how I do it. In the introduction, you always want to talk about what it is you're going to be talking about in the article. So the points that I took was so many books. There's so many books that we read, not enough time to get through it. We need to figure out how we're going to get through that, and we could do that with some speed reading techniques. I also mentioned that there's benefits that you can get out of learning speed reading, like life benefits, stuff that the person will be interested in, such as freeing up more time so you could play sports or something like that. And then I tried to keep it very clear and concise. I gave 3 tips. Sometimes you can give more, but I find that just talking about 3 topics is enough for someone to digest an article. If you have too many things in an article, then you'll lose interest of the reader, and you won't be able to convey your message in a very efficient way. So I like to keep things as clear and concise as possible, and I do it by talking about 3 particular topics. So tip number 1 is use a pen as a guide. Tip number 2 is use your peripheral vision, and tip number 3 is use accelerator.com. And then I talk about, at the end, the conclusion, the benefits of using the tips, and I close it off. Now, as you can see, this doesn't really have a lot of details in relation to the article. So, you know what? I'm going to actually do this with you right here. I'm going to go through this article and add them. Now, I'm obviously doing this from the perspective of someone that is kind of studying this article, because I'm going to actually go and pull important points and put it on here. But all you have to do is reverse engineer it. You put your points here and then create your article, and vice versa, use the same format to study if you wish. Now, I also mentioned different ways in this course of how you could use mind mapping for studying, but that is just a small portion of the different ways. You can study by topic, you could study by portion of your textbook or article, by chapter. So imagine instead of this being paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, if it was a book and you're studying, it would be chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, so forth. If you were writing a book, it would be chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then it would be broken down into, maybe section 1, section 2, section 3, and you keep breaking it down and logically organizing the information so that when you do have your outline, you can have an overview to make sure that your book flows properly, because you don't want to lose the reader. So this article flows really well. So I recommend you actually go check out this article because it flows really well. It's very clear and concise and straight to the point. And again, the reason is because I created it on the mind map. It helped me stay focused. If I don't use a format like this, I find that I can rant on my posts or articles and talk about irrelevant things and just lose the reader. So this has been really helpful for me. Let's go back to this article. Let's move that back. So tip number 1, use your finger as a guide. There's a bunch of points that I talk about in here. And I talk about, for example, eyes fixate on moving objects. So that's something that you can actually put over there. I also put running it under each line of text about 25% faster than you read will help train your eyes to read faster. So I'll just add that as a point there. And I also talked about an example about me throwing a baseball across the room and your eyes fixating on it. So that's an important point, and I talked about it in this order. The next tip was using your peripheral vision. So again, I brought up the baseball flying across the room because you pick up the baseball flying across the room using your peripheral vision. So that goes over there. Then I talk about how you could use your peripheral vision to read multiple words at a time. Then I talk about the actual technique of looking at the space between the words. And then tip number 3, use accelerator.com. I talked about how you could use it to increase your reading speed by 50% without any formal speed reading training. I give a link to the video so we can add a hyperlink to it. And I also mentioned that you could use it to read computer documents and stuff on your computer, like blog posts. But the video that's included on there has even more information. So I don't need to add a lot more information to my blog post. It's just going to clutter things up. And then finally, benefits of using the tips. I talked about freeing up a ton of time each day. And I also talked about doing other things you wanted to do outside of reading. So essentially, before I created that article, I had something like this. And now all I did was just went and reversed engineered it and used it and created some study notes. So I'm actually going to go ahead and save this. You could use this as a template for when you're writing your next article and just modify it a little bit for writing a book or anything like that. And if you need help to create a custom skeleton for writing a book or something that's more complex than this, just send me an email and I'll contact you back and I'll create a skeleton and send it over to you.